beginning, and because we are already recording, we are streaming to Facebook, to Twitter, to YouTube, and we are about to take a trip around the cross W. And before we do that, let's count it down. Studio 33 Alpha. Well, good evening and welcome to pjnet.tv. And if that's not where you're at right now, well, you are doing the internet wrong. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, we're certainly glad to have you join us. We do invite you, however, to join us in the fellowship, the sweet fellowship, live at pjnet.tv in our chat room. You can watch the program there, and there's friends waiting right now to send you a friend request on Facebook or follow you on Twitter or whatever the case may be. All right, so it's Thursday night. It's 9:30. You know what we do about that time every week? We take a little trip around the Cross W Ranch with the caretaker of said ranch himself is with us, J.D. Wininger of the noted fame at jdwininger.com. I'll put that on the screen because it's got your name in it. It kind of serves double duty.
Everything.
And I bet you probably thought I had forgotten that you ever sent me this hat.
Oh, no, sir. I knew you had it around there somewhere.
I'm not a big hat wearer, but I just thought it'd be nice to wear a hat tonight because I didn't wash my hair.
Coach.
No, I didn't.
At least you've got here, Coach.
Yeah, JD, I was thinking, on your emails, you see your address there. You got one of those really high, you're in the double digits on your P.O. box, and I'm here to tell you that I have acquired a post office box in Monticello, Florida, and yes, it's in double digits. In fact, it is the P.O. box that my father-in-law used, and he's been dead for years. So that's how much P.O. box turn over. Yeah.
Sure. Outstanding, Coach. PJNet TV's got a P.O. box in Monticello now.
Huh? Yeah. We're going to retire the one in Tallahassee since I don't get over there much anymore. I'm announcing my retirement from my day job. August the 8th will be my final day, so that I can more fully devote my time to the ministry here at PJNet because there's been a lot of names and a lot of faces come across this screen, and each one has touched our lives here. And it seems that you notice they're touching lives elsewhere. The tentacles of the spirit of our fellowship just goes on, and it goes everywhere. We've got Ben working with a camp. Just on and on it goes. Stephanie's
doing Healthy Faith Chat tonight. Doug does Healthy Faith Chat. Miss Rachel leads them. We're making an impact. There's a lot of candles burning around this world that got their start here at PJNet, Coach, and we appreciate you. And please know that we will continue daily to pray for PJNet in your ministry.
Well,
sure.
Thank you, JD. We
and
will
actually,
continue.
If I may be so bold, it's our ministry.
It is. I mean, this is a team. I know that I have, I'm the quarterback, I guess, the coach, whatever. I get to sit here, but it's really about not who's on that screen, but the story they tell and who they represent.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Very true. Very true.
But you're a storyteller yourself.
I'm sorry, sir?
You're the storyteller yourself, because I did read your blog.
Well, thanks, Coach. I appreciate that. Just share what God shows me, buddy. Just sharing what God shows me. And a few weeks ago, and this one's a week or so late getting to y'all, but a few weeks ago I had to go up to the VA Medical Center up in Bonham, Texas. And to get from Cooper to Bonham, I can go up 30 and up 34 and I-30 and over and 82 and major 4-lane highways and roads and things, or I can just take all the little county roads and a couple that cut through fields that don't even have a number on them. They're not even farm to market roads. They're just there. Yeah. And, we can make it only takes me about 35 minutes to 40 minutes in that route if I followed the major routes via the GPS. It take me an hour and 20. So
Hmm.
it works, Coach. And the great thing about that, as I mentioned in my blog, is I'm just traveling through what we affectionately call God's country here. So you see a little bit of everything. There's forests and there's farmland and there's pastures and small little towns, with the antique stores. And I go through Honey Grove a lot, and I just love the old Victorian houses and the wraparound porches and things that you see. You don't see that everywhere anymore, and I truly enjoy the scenery when I take that route down 56. But it was interesting because this was between Honey Grove and Wyndham, of all places, and you blink, you miss Wyndham. But between the two, there's like a 2 mile stretch of highway or road, I should say. And I came across four pastures, and each of the four pastures was in different growth stages or different seasons, if you will. And I thought, well, Lord, what are you trying to show me here? I'm not sure. So when I got to Wyndham, I stopped and pulled off, uh, got off into a parking lot of an old abandoned service station, I think it was. And I turned around and I went back and I just parked right in the middle of these fields alongside the road. We have big, wide shoulders here in Texas. And I just sat there and, okay, Lord, I'm listening. Show me what you got. And he kind of walked me through it, just a series of thoughts that I had across all four pastures, Coach. And it just really, Ecclesiastes 3, the one of the books that Solomon wrote, jumped to me. Of course, the Birds had a song along these lines, "Turn, Turn, Turn," I think
Hmm.
was the name of the song. So as I'm writing, I'm kind of hearing this in my head. But went through it, and so I parked, and as I considered each field, I just asked God to help me understand what He was trying to teach me that day and trying to show me. So in the field that was being prepared for the coming cotton crop, and if you look on my blog, that was the blackland field as we call it. Oh, look ain't that pretty, Coach? How about that? Oh, I like that fire. No, I don't fire brand. I freeze brand my cow, but boy, that looks nice, Coach. Thank you. That's a nice surprise. So what you're looking at on the screen, folks, is what we call a bedded field of cotton. Now that is pure 100% grade A Texas blackland. And if you don't know anything other about blackland other than the song Beulah Land and things, uh, blackland is famous for sinking right down to your axles as soon as you step on it if it's wet. I mean, tractors, they use tractors, with the big tracks on them because the wheels, they just bury tractors out there in them. I learned it my second year in Texas. I said, oh, it just rained a little bit. I'll drive across this blackland pasture and feed my neighbor's cows for him. And I got about 15 feet before I sunk right down to the axles, And he had to go get a tractor and pull me out and said, boy, don't you know nothing about driving on blackland? No, sir, but I do now. So, I've spent my life learning things the hard way, Coach, but you don't get on blackland when it's wet. But in any case, what's neat about the cotton is how they bed it. You saw those rows of what looked like hills, and of course the seeds are within the center of those hills. But they do that, they bed the cotton. It's called, to keep its feet from getting too wet, or its roots from getting too wet. Coach, is the way that they say it. And I got thinking about it, and that what God was showing me is, sometimes you got to till pretty deep, and He's got to till my soul deeply. When He does that, then I'm better prepared to accept the seeds of righteousness that He's trying to sow within me, right? And so it showed me that sometimes, for God to plant the Word of God in me, He's got to work me over pretty good. He's got to turn some soil over in my heart. And that's what I saw in that field. So at the next field, though, it was teeming with new life, Coach. It was an emerging corn crop. And the seed had planted, and it was tillering or that early stage of growth where you get about 6 leaves that come off the main stem after it emerges. That's just something, if you've never done it, folks, you just got to row up a nice stand of crops like that. It's just beautiful to look. And it seems like you're looking for miles, but it's really only a couple thousand yards, Coach. But to see how everything is uniform and beautiful and equally spaced, of course, the drill that plants the seed does that. But it just always amazes me to see that. But a couple things that I thought about at this field was how the plants, when they're in like V4s, I'm guessing is about where this was at, when they're in that young stage, they're very vulnerable to disease and to pests and other threats. And that can get you. But at the same time, the same thing happens to new and immature Christians, right? We're very vulnerable during our early stages of spiritual growth. And that we more mature Christians, we farmers and sowers, we need to take them under our wing, and we need to protect them and guide them and help them to grow and mature so that they can start producing fruit, right? Of course, another similarity with corn and new Christians is that, when they're young and they're just starting to sprout and grow, Coach, you don't know the quality or the quantity of the harvest that is going to come from them, right? Are these guys going to be the next Billy Graham and just bring souls by the bushels to God's kingdom? Or are they going to spend 40 years sitting on a pew every Sunday going, yep, I'm a good Christian. I put my envelope in the tithe box, right? and that's what they do. And they dust their Bible off Saturday night, and they put it back Sunday afternoon, and it's the last time to see them. So we don't know where they're at yet, but what we sow into them, and how we care for new Christians, Coach, isn't that, directly related to the output that they will be capable of? If we equip them, they'll grow. And so a couple fields down from that, though, the one on the bottom left was, I think, one of the most beautiful sights I've ever seen in this life, Coach. And that's a beautiful field of wheat that is amber or golden and ready for harvest, And I'm looking at this field you're showing there, Coach, and I'm going, well, that's about F13.5 there. It's past the soft dough stage. And the interesting thing about wheat, Coach, is when you look at that plant, if you were to pull up and just cut off the stalk of the wheat and you were to slice that stem open, the stem would be hollow, just like a straw, Coach. All of the food, all of the energy of the plant has been taken up, and it's in the flower at the top, and it's in the wheat, the fruit of the wheat plant that is being created, and that's one of the ways that which peak stage wheat is in is how empty is the stalk, right? And can you squeeze the little kernel of wheat? Is it at milk stage? Or is it soft and squishy? We call it a soft dough stage. Or is it starting to harden and mature, And understanding that. But, of course, you can't look at a field of wheat and not sing, amber waves of grain, right? And but I thought about that mature wheat field, and I thought how the wheat was full and it was hardened and it's easily separated from the chaff. When the combines come through, the chaff just blows everywhere, but that wheat goes into the tank, and it gets pushed into the buggy and off they go. But same thing happens with us, right? When the neat thing, though, is when they harvest that, some of those seeds are going to fall to the ground. And the birds have a field day, but the seed that falls to the ground that doesn't get eaten by the birds will sprout up, and it'll sprout with new life, right? And the same thing happens. That's the legacy we leave behind us, our legacy of faith, isn't it, Coach?
It is indeed. It is.
Yeah, and, but between the corn and the wheat, though, was a field, and it's the field or the season that I struggle with the most in my life, and that was called the fallow field, which means it's just left, it's untended, They don't fertilize it. They don't do anything with it. They're not going to till it. They're not going to no-till and plant anything. They're going to just let it rest for a season. Let it rest for this period of time, Coach. And a lot of times that in my personal life, when things were kind of put into neutral, when God put me into a season of rest, whether I wanted that or not, right? He does, and it always felt like God has put me up in park, and He's just got my engine idling, and I'm just sitting here. I'm not moving anywhere. I'm not going anywhere, and I'm going. If I'm not going anywhere or doing anything, then Lord, I'm not being helpful to you. I'm not doing anything. And it took me a lot of years to realize that that was a period of growth, and it was doing one of two things. It was allowing me to recover and absorb and rest after a hard fought or a hard learned lesson, or it was preparing me for the next mission. It was preparing me for the next thing that He had planned for me. So the next time I see that field and I go by there, I can almost assure you that it's going to be tilled up and ready for probably either soybean or milo. So they're going to row crop that field, and it'll be ready to go for a late summer planting and a late fall harvest. But sometimes we have to just sit there fallow, and we have to rest, and we have to learn that when God puts us in that, there's a reason for that, right? When I was young, as a young Christian, I couldn't accept that. I had to be busy. I had to be doing something for God's kingdom all the time. I was either going to be Billy Sunday or Fred Francis Bosworth, right? I'm going to preach on street corners if I have to. Just on fire for God. But again, I was just too immature to realize that God was doing His work in my life during those periods. So I may not be doing anything outwardly for the kingdom, but the kingdom is growing me and grooming me for what I'm going to do next. So I looked at those different fields and the different seasons of growth. And there's not too many states in this old country that you can see four different seasons in a 2-mile stretch of land like that, Coach. So, but I recognize it as kind of a microcosm of my life and where it was going. And I realized then that God is the one that orders the seasons of our lives, and He does so to align our lives to His plan. So, we always say, if the best laid plans are eliminated by God, right? Because He's going to do what's best for you and what furthers His kingdom. And understanding how the different parts of my life and service to God can be in multiple stages at the same time, right? If I'm working on a manuscript or I'm writing a children's book or a devotion or something, well, I'm planting those seeds and sometimes I'm tilling people's hearts and sometimes I'm just helping them grow, right? Other times, though, there's other parts of my life that is pretty stagnant or fallow, and I'm just sitting there waiting for the next thing that God wants to use the gift in me to do. So that's kind of what I've been doing, looking at that, and just kind of the question I asked people is, have you found your spiritual life in different seasons too? And it's kind of surprised me that a lot of the people commenting on my post never even considered how our spiritual life has seasons like that, Coach, like the 4 seasons we have each year. So that's kind of what my post was about this week. And, I look at it. Sometimes when I look back on my life, I lament the times that I spent as a fellow Christian when I just sitting in neutral and I wasn't doing anything for the kingdom. And of course, my prayer is that God redeems all that time, that He uses me and He empties out my cup, refills it and empties it out 2 more times, Coach, before He calls me home. So that was my post this week, Coach. I'm going to shut up and let you talk a little bit.
Well, there's a lot to talk about, JD, and I think your blog was spot on, pointing out that it's almost as if you saw 4 seasons in a single afternoon. Now, not
Yes,
exactly, but the message is clear that these things are in different stages of development. And it's funny that, or it's not funny, it's actually miraculous that we have 4 seasons. The earth has 4 seasons because God put a little bit of wobble. When He spun it
that's right.
up,
Yes, sir.
He put a little bit of wobble in it. And without those
Yep.
seasons, we could not exist. And we take it for granted, and we know that right now I know what season it is. It was over 100 degrees here, and we say it's hot, but then we have something to look forward to, because fall, just as certainly as the heat of summer is here now, fall is
Yeah,
coming.
fall here in Texas will get down to 90, Coach.
Yeah, yeah, we have, and the other thing that impressed me, the note that you made about the vulnerable time in growth. We need to be aware of that, and I want to take a moment just to express my gratitude, my just heartfelt thanks to some people that are in our PJNet family, and many of them are in the chat room right now, because just not even a week ago or so, Star Ayers, who will tell you she does not go looking for a camera to get in front of. Let's just say it that way. But she just felt compelled to express something that she was confronted with. And also, Michelle Medlock Adams was up against a deadline. I forget the circumstance, but she saw that on social media and contacted Star, who, and Michelle yielded her time that she would normally have here on the program to Star. And Star shared that, and it unleashed a fury within so many. It resonated. It wasn't just one of these little 20-minute, gosh, that's terrible, somebody ought to do something about that. But immediately,
that was a powerful message, Coach. It was. I got to watch it.
But look how many people got involved. And then the next thing you know, Doug Carter, is the watchman on the wall, and he piles on. And next week, Rachel Colby of our PJNet family will be sharing with us on those topics.
Amen.
And on and on and on it goes. But we need, and Michelle was on last night, and she has written so many children's books and sold millions, literally sold millions.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And we can be outraged by what we see around us, but we need to see that young seedling as vulnerable. And yes, we need to shout out and stand against those that would prey upon them, but it's not enough to damn the darkness.
No.
We need to light a candle. And I was just thinking this afternoon of the millions and millions of candles that Michelle has lit in the lives of those vulnerable young people. And then tonight in the chat room, you are making comments about lighting candles. So it kind of gives you chills. It's almost a Twilight Zone experience when you see these things happening that nobody called this play, Coach. It just organically happened, and actually somebody did call the play. It just wasn't any of us.
That's right. But God, Coach.
Oh, but God. Oh, but God. And the other thing that struck me as I read that is, you kind of presented it of the seasons of life as we go through them.
Yeah.
But I was reminded that on a single afternoon, you saw all in just one afternoon. And I was reminded in our daily walk, we're going to encounter all.
Yes, sir.
And
we're going to interact with all of them, aren't we?
Yes, so we need to be aware of the season and the implications, so it can help us minister to them, to reach out to them, or disciple them, or edify them. Yes. Because it would, somebody that's not a believer doesn't need a dissertation on, premillennial dispensationalism. That's not going to help them. And
what they need is a message of the gospel and how to be saved. Yeah,
they
need
need
to lead
to
them to that step.
they need to know the love of God, the pursuing love of God, that pursues us in spite of and and you can't necessarily tell by someone's age what season they're in, can you?
No, no, that's for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I look at myself in the mirror and I think, God, you are so immature, But to somebody else, I'm a sage old Yoda, and well, I'm kind of short and ugly like him, but I feel like there's the older I get, the less I understand, Coach. I've come to accept that. I realize I haven't even scratched the surface of knowing all that there is to know in this world. And I've accepted the fact that I will never know all that I need to know or all that I think I want to know in this life, Coach. And God made us to always seek learning and seek understanding and knowledge, and then turn that knowledge into application so that you gain wisdom to be able to wield that knowledge and understanding, Coach. And He made us that way on purpose. But we can never be fulfilled until we are glorified on that day. Is that right, Coach?
I was having a conversation, and your comment on the fallow field
Okay.
really shed light on a conversation I had earlier, which is a conversation I have with myself. I have one with God. I have one with others. But I feel like that I wasted the prime years of my life living for the world when I could have been. And you start thinking, what if, if only, what if, why did I, you start kind of, and those thoughts, by the way, are accusations against oneself. And Zig Ziglar said, never make an argument against yourself. We have somebody who works full time to do that. And I forget who I was having the conversation with, but it was pretty serious because we were both lamenting that we're getting older, and the things we could have done if we would have done them 30 years ago or 40 years ago or 20 years ago, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And I instantly was reminded of the phrase "finish strong" that Paul uses in the New Testament. Mm-hmm. And it is so sound because as a coach, I know that it really doesn't matter what the score is in the second quarter. It literally doesn't matter.
No,
that's
right.
When the people that love NASCAR, which I'm not in love with it, but there are people that really, they declare the winner based on your position at the finish of the race, at the finish line. Right. You can lead every lap except the last one.
Last, yes. I know it, Coach. I know it. And that's the thing is Satan is the great accuser, right? God's word tells us he is, and he's the one that tries to plant those seeds of doubt or seeds of you're not good enough, you've never been good enough. Look at all the years you wasted, all the time and money, and energy that you could have used for God's kingdom if you were really a good Christian. And those things can weigh on a person, especially if they've still got one foot in the world, Coach. And I'll be candid with you. It's happened to me. Instead, look at it as, it just took God a little longer to prime my pump. But boy, once he got me pushing water, oh, what a difference I'm making for God's kingdom today. Yeah. I look at you. What's the viewership at PJNet now? About 30,000 viewers a month, Coach. Look at the different programs across there.
Yeah.
What an impact you're making, sir, whether you even realize it or not. And, if you can only judge it by the number of tweets or the number of followers on Facebook or you try to apply some quantitative measure, you can't measure God's impact, buddy. I'm sorry. You're like me. You're just an old farmer, Coach, and you got the hat to prove it tonight. But You're just an old farmer, and you're planting seeds of righteousness. And do they fall on stony earth? Do they fall on fallow ground, or do they fall in good tilled soil that the Holy Spirit can act on it and convict somebody to move upon the words that you plant through PJNet? We don't know, Coach, but we do know this: we got to keep on throwing out them seeds, don't we? Shep?
Well, yeah, they don't plant themselves.
That's right.
Or actually, they can you can get a volunteer here and there, but that won't produce much of a harvest. It just won't.
That's a fact. Yes, sir.
We still actually have a few tung oil trees sprouting up along the side of the road.
Oh,
Do you know what tung oil is? You know what I'm talking
yes.
about? Okay,
Yes, sir.
before synthetic paints, that was basically the oil they used to as the base for paint. And there were groves that when they bloomed, JD, it was pink as far as the eye could see. I mean,
Yes,
just beautiful.
Yeah.
But they were also highly poisonous, and,
Yeah.
and of course they were organic. So they rotted and became rancid. But the bottom line is that there are still, when you go to where those tung oil groves used to be, you will see tung trees, little ones, along the fence that the birds have, dropped or pushed
Yeah.
around. And I walked out the other day just here at the Eagle's Nest, and I noticed about, I guess, a dozen grapes.
Wow.
We're just right there. And it's like,
Yeah. Huh.
I know where the grapevine is. It's nowhere near here. But I guess those pesky squirrels, limb rats
Yes,
we
sir.
call them
Could
here, were
Yeah.
hot as it is. They're thinking winter's coming, and
Yep.
they were getting their little storehouse prepared for the
Yes, sir.
winter ahead. But the grass is growing. It's green. It's hot. It's raining regularly, and but the seasons come, the season go. But the fallow field also reminded me, JD, that Sabbath,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
there is a time for rest. And I struggle with that, you see, because I just want to keep doubling down in total denial
Yeah.
of the realities of not only my age, but nobody can boil the ocean. Somebody once told me, no
Yes,
matter
sir,
how.
I've heard that before. Yeah, but here you are busy making flaming cross W brands.
Yeah, yeah, painting with flamethrowers.
There you go. Yes.
But JD, what a rich topic and blog article this week. And I guess we would be remiss if we didn't say that we missed you last week, but we know that you had some what's the word I'm
Yes, sir.
looking for? Some uncomfortable business to deal with, but I know you discharged your duties well,
Yes, sir.
and hopefully
And,
that's behind us now.
Sometimes we have to put family and self first.
Mhm.
And in this case, as much as I love my PJNet family, I need to focus on my sister, brother's wife, and cousins and nephews and great nephews and nieces and things. I needed to focus on my family this past week. So I appreciate everybody's prayers, wonderful comments and cards and letters, or emails, I guess I should say. It meant a great deal to me. It's wonderful to know that we do have a caring family, that fellowship extends far beyond the PJNet chat room or the hashtag that we use in our various posts and things. Meant a great to be part of this family we call PJNet, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for letting me visit with you tonight, Coach, and thanks everyone in the chat room. Hope to see you guys real soon.
All righty. Thank you, JD. Wow, what a great time. I love my brother JD. There you see, I know you love him too. There you see the view high atop the Eagle's Nest. That's the broadcast facilities here at pjnet.tv. Let me see if I can find the button to clear that. You want to see that? You want to see that flame one more time? I know you do. I do. I have been wanting to do that for so long. Oh, the fun that we have at PJNet after after dark, after hours. You want to be a part of that? Come on in. I'm up till who knows when, and Sunbelt girl Barbara helps me. It's been a really, really rewarding week this week, but tonight kind of winds it up as far as I'm concerned, because tomorrow night I get the night off. Steve Hazards takes the helm on Friday nights, and I hope that you will. We do things a little different, obviously, and I appreciate the opportunity to just take a Sabbath, so to speak, and take a night off to help me adjust. But he takes control about 9 o'clock as always, and we play some retro music and some jazz and some oldie, stuff that you all remember, that I remember. I used to play those records on the radio. But at 10 o'clock he'll open my perspective and comments, or about 10. It kind of depends on his production cycle. You gotta understand how these things work. He produces it, but when it's available is an entirely different matter. But he's pretty regular. About 10 o'clock, he will uncork my perspective and comment, and I think it's really worth your time to enjoy the fellowship, but also get the week in review from a biblical Christian worldview. And that's what Steve does for us. Everybody here is an important part of the team, and I'm so proud of each one of you. And there's room for more. No matter who you are, there's a meaningful place of service for you on this team. And I just hope that you will spend some time with God and pay attention. If God wants you to do something, well, let my ministry be to help yours. Fair enough? I'm going to sign it off, but before I do, I want to challenge you by asking you 2 questions that I frequently ask myself, and it has helped further me and help me keep going sometimes when times get tough. What is the boldest thing that you have ever done for Jesus Christ? And if that's not tough enough, the next one's even worse or better. How long ago was that? And the challenge, of course, is to never be satisfied with either answer.